All right, we're going to get kicked off to make sure we have enough time to have an effective session. So, first of all, thank you guys all for coming out. It's been a great show. I realize this is kind of the last day, and some of us had a lot of fun last night, and it's getting to be a grind at this point of the conference. So, thank you for coming out and spending the time with us. The track today is ITADs and HP, examining the ways that OEMs and ITAD partners can work together. So it's a pretty exciting opportunity to learn more about what HP is working on. But real quick, just want to do a quick round of introductions. So I'm Todd Zegers. I'm the founder and CEO of Circular Integrity. I started the business about a little over a year ago that does ITAD and reverse logistics consulting. Been in the business for about 20 years and just decided to not work at big corporate America anymore, but maybe partner with them instead. So without further ado, I'll introduce Jen.
Can you hear me? Okay, very good. Thank you, Todd. Jennifer Foxworthy. I am with HP. I run the Certified Refurbished Licensing or Certified Refurbished Partner Program. I've been with HP a short period of time, but I've been in the industry for 20-some years, I guess. Over to Grant.
All right, Grant Hoffman. Hi. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining. I'm a part of the Renew Solutions organization, and I basically just do whatever Jen says, and my life works out okay. So nice to be here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Kevin Corrigan, represent Ingram Micro's ITAD business. We manage that globally, and some of our global representation is here from our team as well. Thank you.
Hi, Michael Welton. You hear me right? Michael Welton, North American CEO, Close the Loop. We're a refurb remarketing company. Happy to be here to see everyone. Thanks for the invitation. Only been in the ITAD space for 6 months, so I'll do my best to answer questions. But I've been in the reverse distribution business for over 30 years. Thanks again.
Thanks, Mike. And I told him earlier, I'm like, 6 months isn't always a bad thing. It's always nice to have some fresh perspective and fresh set of eyes coming in, even though you've been in adjacent spaces. So I think you can add some real value to the panel. So as you guys can see, we have a very strong panel today. Very excited to hear more about what HP is doing in the Renew Solutions program and how it's going to start changing the industry. So the one thing I want to encourage everyone in the room to do as we're going along, we want to make this kind of a collaborative. This is supposed to be a fireside chat. We're not here to pitch HP. We're here to talk about how this industry is going to start changing this kind of concept of ITAD 2.0, what that world's going to look like. And I think HP is leading the charge in that area. So there'll be that, and then a lot of you may want to get engaged with HP and figure out how you can get involved in the programs that they're working on. There's been QR codes sitting out in front of the exhibitor hall. There'll be one tonight at the HP after party on the yacht, which, by the way, thank you. That should be fun. But it's a short form you can fill out, put some information there about your company. That will go to the HP team. We'll make sure that they get back to everybody so you feel like your voice is being heard and you have a chance to get your stuff in front of them. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Grant Hoffman to come up here and give you an overview of HP Renew, and then we'll dive into some Q&A after that. So Grant, take the stage.
All right, if you can roll the video, please. There we go. All right, again, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. This is my first time at the ITAD Summit event, and so it's great to see a bunch of new faces, at least for me. As a couple of folks mentioned, they've been around the business short-term, long-term, but for me, I've been in this space maybe just over a year. So we were we were joking that there are some folks on the panel here that are ITAD famous. I would say I'm not one of them. But anyways, again, thanks for being here. Okay, so I'm just going to take you through a couple of slides, and as we go through these, it's just a general overview of HP, the Renew Solutions business, which is a part of the business that I'm a part of. And I want you to be thinking about questions. This is going to be a really interactive session, so hopefully we'll get to many of your Q&A as we go through the back half of the presentation. Okay? First question, basically, why is HP, why am I here? Why are we here to go through this session? And the easiest answer is that customers are asking HP, how are we going to incorporate multi-lifecycle devices in our portfolio? Okay, so HP today has computers, printers, we offer a lot of different services. And the questions are coming from customers are, hey, we would like to have multiple offerings, not only just new units, but also multi-lifecycle units. And so for us, HP has a strategy to be the most just and sustainable tech company. So to put this together, have Renew Solutions business start with an HP is by no means a stretch. It's something that we're very proud of, the heritage that HP has with circularity and sustainability. So our group has been established for maybe just less than a year. And so we have a lot of learnings, we have a lot of work to do, but really excited to share with how far we've made it, at least so far in the first few quarters. Okay? All right, so for me, the idea of why customers are asking HP to have these multi-lifecycle devices, and we're getting a variety of different answers when we have these customer conversations. Some of them are just, very directly are government mandates, right? If you read anything about France, you know that 20% of the units that you need to have sustainable or circular in order to engage with the French government. You also see other organizations that have total cost of ownership, right? Budgets are tight. They want to make sure they're getting the most value out of their devices. Other folks have sustainability or circularity goals. You see a lot of folks that have certain goals or measurements that they got to hit by 2030. Others just want flexible solutions. They just want to be able to have a unit that isn't tied to a direct purchase. Maybe they want to lease the unit or rent the unit or have it for a short period of time. It's any and all of those are the answers that we're getting back from our customers. And so a lot of folks immediately jump to, sustainability is the reason why a large enterprise customer would want a circular device or a refurbished device. But it's not all the case. And for us, we're happy with any and all of those reasons. I was told to point the clicker this way. It's still going. All right. Okay, so very quickly on our portfolio. Okay, so this slide basically breaks the HP Renew Solutions portfolio into 3 different segments. The first one is hardware. It's on the left, and so it's basically what you think of. You're all very professional in the ITAD space. We have the ability to take units, refurbish units, and then sell units. Some of these are through direct motion. Some of these are through contractual agreements, managed agreements, and others. But just think of hardware coming in, doing some refurbishment, and then HP selling that hardware gear. In the middle on the services side, we have an offering called Device Lifecycle Extension. And so when you come to HP and you want to buy a new unit, you can check a box when you buy that unit, and in 3 years, it will come back. We will refurbish it for you and then send it back to you with an extended warranty, right? Just like it sounds. Buy a new unit, check the box, Device Lifecycle Extension. 3 years, it comes back. We take care of it, put a new battery in it, and then send it back to you, okay? Also on the services side, we have something called IT Asset Disposition. And so this is an offering that we've had out for a couple of years. It's an amazing offering. Tony's in the front row here. Tony handles ITADs. If you want to hear about this, Tony's the person. And so for us, it's about when customers are ready to basically end of life or to move on past a unit, you give us the list. We'll give you potentially some residual value if there's anything left, and then you know that it's in the hands of HP to make sure that it's disposed of in the right manner, or if it's harvested, or again, if we can refurbish it, we will. And then the very far right, Jen Foxworthy's on stage. The program here is HP Certified Partner Program. It's an amazing program that we started just a couple of months ago. We have some partners signed up. Some of you are in the audience are some of our first partners. And so we're really excited about this. And for us, what this is we, HP, have a wonderfully professional organization that does all of your warranty work, right? You have an issue, you pick up the phone, you get somebody on the other end that's able to walk you through a problem. You have an issue, your device breaks for whatever reason, we have the ability to resolve that for you and fix it. And so we're taking advantage of this very professional organization, and we're allowing other ITADs or other folks that have units that are HP refurbished units to use our warranty, and we call those HP Certified Partner Program. So the easy analogy is think of your car dealerships, right? You want to go to a car dealer, you can buy a certified pre-owned car from a dealership, or you can buy it from your friend down the street. So you can buy it with a little bit more confidence when you're buying from the dealer, so if something happens to the unit, it gets fixed. And so it's an amazing program that we just started, and for us, it protects the brand, and it really gives the consumer the buying confidence when they buy our device that it is going to be backed up by HP and all that we stand for. Okay? All right, so as Todd mentioned, there's a QR code, and actually they're on each side of the stage here. So you can scan the QR code, you can answer a couple of questions and see exactly how we can engage back and forth together. But we put it basically on one slide for hopefully the folks to simplify. For us, the first thing, HP, is we have customers that want units. So we are buying units today. We'd like to have the opportunity to work with you to potentially purchase units. We refurb them, and then we sell them. Okay, and Reed is here. We got well represented. Reed in the front row here is handling that. But ultimately for us, it's a motion that if you have units you're trying to sell, we're interested. Okay, and this is across our whole portfolio. Again, HP, PCs, printers, and then we do a lot on the hybrid or the collaboration space. I came from Poly, and so the Poly gear is a part of it as well. We also have Jen's program that I mentioned about becoming an HP certified partner. So this program is select in the number of partners that we're choosing, but it definitely is global. So we have partners in each region around the world. And then on the right side, the take-back side of the equation, which I mentioned, is the IT asset disposition side. Again, want some residual value, looking to find a good way to end of life your devices, and we can help you with that. Okay? All right, so if those two QR codes on the side aren't enough, now you can see them on the screen. And so really would welcome you to hit the QR code, answer a couple of questions, and then we'll figure out if there's a way that we can engage in the future. All right, so hopefully all your questions are ready to go. I know Todd's got one to start, but from there we'll look to the audience and hopefully have a good discussion. All right, thank you.
Can't find my glasses. All right. Thank you, Grant. Appreciate that. And as you guys can see, we know what they're looking to do and how they created these three different pillars, and I'm sure these things will expand over time as customers start asking for additional stuff. So really cool stuff, Grant. Thanks for that. We're going to go ahead and dive into some questions. I'm going to start with kind of a big zinger here, if you will, to start out. But again, please raise your hand. Lorenzo is right here. Do you have a microphone? We can walk around. So Lorenzo will come find you if you guys raise your hands, and I'll try to be the traffic director, Lorenzo, to get the mic over to you. So this concept of ITAD 2.0 and where the industry is going, we all know that, values may be recovering back to pre-COVID days versus, we know COVID, we had the whole sugar high when everything was doing great and costs were going up in our industry, but everybody was kind of able to absorb a lot of that because the values were so high, but now we're starting to see that shrink back down. So we've got this macro trend that's kind of going in an interesting direction. We've got OEMs moving into this space. We've got customers that are now looking to say, I want to make my device last longer and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a really interesting time over the next couple of years to see how this all pans out. So, with the spirit of that in mind, I wanted to go through a panel here and just kind of go one by one and just, get their perspective and whether it's one or all three of those components as far as what you see happening in the industry in the future.
Okay, I guess I'm starting. Ladies first. Thank you. So from my perspective, we don't typically see OEMs get involved with the ITADs. It seems to be this very separate operation that there's just no involvement. And we term it the gray market, right? It's a dirty word. We don't like it. However, that's really changing, and the OEMs are now getting very involved, and it's not just HP. We're seeing it across the industry, and I like to kind of coin it, we're making the gray market sexy. We want to get involved. We want to be a part of it. We want to protect our brand, but we also want the ITADs to feed the information that they're gathering about our refurbished devices, these devices that are 3, 4, 5 years old, back into our manufacturing teams so that we can create that more circular product, make it easier to repair, easier to refurbish, all of those things that come with circularity.
Thank you. Depending on what market research you look at, the business that we're in, the business that all of you are in, on the refurbished, especially on the PC side, is growing at somewhere between 7 to 14% a year. And so what this means for me is that the large enterprise customers every day becoming more involved in this business. And for the customers that at least I'm focused on today, it's the large enterprise customer. And these customers don't just have requests for one specific SKU number in one specific country. I mean, these are very large companies that have operations all over the world. And so I think for me, what we're going to see over the next couple of years is folks have the capability to support the global requirements of big customers. Because to date, there's no good solution. There's not a solution you can just say, yeah, I need 3 different SKUs and I need it in 18 different countries, but they need to be these 3 standardized SKUs because those are the ones that a company offers. And today it's really difficult, right? It's really difficult to have that global, the global scope and be able to have the standardization across the world. So I'm sure there's a lot of consolidation happening in the audience today with different companies buying others. But for me, looking to see how can we have a simplified global standard on both PCs and the ability to fulfill the customer need is super important. I think that's where it'll head. All right, over to you.
Thanks, Grant. Couple things. One, Jen mentioned that OEMs don't typically get involved in this space, and I think that's totally true. But one really exciting thing I think for everybody in this audience is that HP is driving collaboration. They're driving us to do business with each other, and they're putting some rules and rules of engagement around that of how we're going to transact with HP as a partner, but also with each other, and helping drive this initiative that they are in the path of creating. So I like the creation, I like the market disruption, but it's also the demand. They wouldn't be doing this. I mean, it is a great thing, and it's great for the economy and the environment, but they wouldn't be doing it if there wasn't a demand for it. And we know that as Ingram is a forward distributor, we know that the value-added reseller community is asking for this. We know that they're gathering this somewhere out there in an unregulated way, and HP, as a brand creator, is going to be able to offer them a product that can be trusted and stood behind. So it's exciting for our industry, where we were all wholesaling and trading and brokering and all the things that we operate in. Now we can actually talk to one of the OEMs and say, how do we help support you in a more professional way?
I think that before the OEMs had involvement, the consumer's experience was probably a bit inconsistent with circular products. With them getting involved, holding the standards, making sure that the performance is consistent, the packaging is consistent. From the time they open the box for the full life of that circular product, it's consistent. I think that's going to give consumer confidence. Consumer confidence is going to increase demand. Demand increases value, and I think that's good for everybody here, good for the OEM partners, good for the ITAD, and good for the consumer.
I'm just going to leave it on now. One thing that I want to add to that too is the transparency that HP brings to the market is huge. You know, we were all of us in this room have been using channels like Amazon, eBay, you know, direct to consumer markets. But what hasn't been professionalized is the B2B market play. How are we going to support the reseller community with a product that can be trusted? Otherwise, they were having to use the Amazons of the world, and inconsistent product flow was coming in. They had to buy, 20 from me and 30 from him and 40 from you. So in order to do that and create that B2B transparency with honesty behind the product is going to be incredibly important to see how the B2B community responds to what is being created by HP.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of validation as well. Obviously, for those of you who've been in this space for a long time, trying to get the OEMs to listen, we know you think that by selling refurbished product is going to cannibalize the sale of your new product, but we know that's not the case, because you can sit there with the CEO of any OEM and they tell you that you can go on eBay and show them a part number and say, listen, think what you want, but if someone wants to find a used product, they're going to find it anyway. So I feel like it's been years and years of chasing this, and it's finally like there's been a wake-up call for that, but also validation that our industry matters and that we can help support this ecosystem. So it's a good time. So this is kind of our crystal ball question, obviously. So I would love to pause for a second to see if anybody has any questions. There's some meaningful thoughts. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Brooks Hoffman with Iron Mountain. So my question has to do with sort of the who does what piece of this. Where is HP focusing? What services are they providing in terms of refurb and maybe even disposition? And what are the partners doing? And then a sort of a follow-on to that, what are the selection criteria that you're using to determine which partners you want to work with? Because I'm assuming you don't want to partner with everybody. You want sort of an ecosystem of trusted, partners. So what criteria and priorities are you using to select your partners?
Okay, maybe I'll start with the kind of the first part, but I'll let Jen cover. We'll let Jen cover the. We'll call it like the quality standard. But for us, what does HP offer? And so when a customer wants to buy a refurbished product, they have multiple motions. One of the motions is they can just buy direct from HP. And so when you ask specifically, like, what do we do? Part of our business is we find unfinished goods. Some of those come from folks in this audience, and we refurbish them in facilities that we have contracts with, and then we sell the units direct. And so just one motion. It's not the majority of the units that HP sells is not sold through direct. Most of our units are sold through the channel, but it is one motion that we support. Another motion that we support is we do the refurbished unit. We find the unit, we refurbish the unit, and then we sell it into the channel. And so we have the ability then to have our customers that buy through the channel for all kinds of gear, that they go to our channel partners and they purchase that way. And so in both of those instances, we do the refurbishment. Like, we find the unit and do the refurbishment and then move the unit, again, either direct or through the channel. But we have another motion, which I'll let Jen talk about, on the quality side of how we decide what partners to use, because it's a big, important thing when we talk about the HP Certified Partner business, which is, again, where HP puts our warranty against a unit that is refurbished by an ITAD. So quality is a big deal, and the criteria of that I'll leave to the experts, so I'll let Jen handle.
I do want to touch on the product that HP is refurbishing. We are leveraging our good friends in supply chain, our teams that already have relationships. So we are leveraging those today. I think eventually we'll see some of our volumes surpass, what we have capabilities or capacity for today, and we may see the need for growth. But that's where, again, our relationships, whether it's a certified refurbished partner program or relationships in other areas of the world, that we can leverage from a supply chain perspective. As far as for the certified partner program, quality is of the utmost importance. So we do site audits. Number one, when we start to evaluate a partner, we take a look at the product that they're delivering. We have product shipped into our offices so that they can be tested and audited by our supply chain teams as well as our support teams to ensure the quality of the product that the customer is receiving is what we're expecting. And then from an actual partner perspective, there's things like, are you a MAR? Are you a TPR? What processes are you using to actually refurbish the devices? What tools are you using? Understanding what you're doing. We're not necessarily going to tell you how to do it. We are looking for quality, but we are going to tell you what to deliver. And it's all done through contracts and quality standards and the like. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, and one, maybe this is a little perspective I have on this, Brooks, to your question about, who can get involved. And this is purely my vision of what I think this could become. If you look at the distribution model now of how product flows in the new ecosystem, HP it's almost like an hourglass. So they're going to sell probably direct to large enterprise and to the bigger VARs, for example, right? Then you've got your distributors like an Ingram Micro and TD SYNNEX who are serving what they call the long tail, which is all the smaller players and stuff like that, because HP can't manage all those partners. So I see a world where that you kind of have this funnel of this material coming down into this central kind of collection model, then it goes out from there, and you've got big partners who can provide big volumes. They don't have to manage a lot of people, but I could see a future, and Grant, I don't know if you can, but a future where you almost have like a reverse distributor, to where you have HP can have partners, or if you're in the program already as a certified partner, maybe you can help manage some of those smaller ones, because the cost to onboard you as a large provider versus a small provider is about the same. In fact, you guys know how it is. When you work with a smaller customer, you usually get less revenue, less margin, and it's more of a pain in the you-know-what. So I think I could see a world where that becomes the place, because if you have ambitious goals with the number of units you're going to get, you're going to have to figure out how to go out there and source from as many people as possible, maybe a crowdsourcing exercise. Not CrowdStrike, but crowdsourcing. Ooh, that was good. I didn't even plan that. All right, any other questions? Back to your right, Lorenzo.
Hello, this is Kelvin from SKTES. Just a quick question. I know this is focused mainly on the back end. Could you talk through what's happening on the front end from a HP regarding design and manufacture of products to actually make this whole chain and sustainability much easier? I think we've all worked with Apple, and we know what happens when CPUs are soldered, hard drives are soldered into that. So if you could talk us through just on the front end how all of the actions there are going to support the future.
So HP has made some aggressive goals for 2030. You can kind of read our ESG report, and you can go through those. But for many years, HP has been focused on putting the right materials in a unit. Sustainable materials, every year I think we get better and better. And again, it's the culture of HP. This isn't something that just started when Renew started less than a year ago. I mean, this is a culture of HP that we strive to be the most just and sustainable tech company, and a big part of that is making the commitment to the environment. And so the idea that the improvements in refurbishment start at the engineering of the new device, and that I think that's ultimately your question. And there are, inside of Renew, inside of the organization that Jen and I are a part of, we have folks that are focused on what's called design for engineering. And so design for sustainability, apologize. And so what that means for us is we have people on our team that wake up every day looking at how a unit is refurbished, like in the factory, actually refurbished. And taking that data and that input and then feeding it into the amazing professional engineers on the new product introduction side, on the new side, and the devices that they're engineering today that will be launching in the future years. And so that organization, especially on the PC side, has dedicated folks to receive the information that we have and are working to make the right decisions. And so some of it you could say is cost-based, like we want it to be easier to refurbish a unit. I think it helps factories, it helps the overall conversion or manufacturing value added cost, means it's lower, so it's just better economics. But ultimately, again, built into the culture of HP is wanting to be the most just and sustainable. And so there is a group inside the engineering team that is working on this exact request that you have, not just from an ease of repair, but as much about sustainability and circularity within the device itself. So I think it's why folks like, here, we're well represented, are just proud to be a part of HP, because this isn't just us up here trying to sell more units. It's actually in the culture and the core of what HP is about.
One thing I'll add to that as well is you've heard terms like producer responsibility. You've heard right to repair acts. There's rumored legislation around that producer responsibility requiring OEMs to carry 7 years post end of life, being able to support a unit for 7 years. So, and I'm not speaking for HP in this way, I'm speaking generally of all manufacturers. I believe that they're going to all be forced that direction of making product more circular, in a way of being forced to have to support that for such a long period of time. That's a scary thing, right? End of life is, used to be just end of life for the manufacturer and covering their warranty or extended. Now it could eventually become forced upon them by law. So that under consumer protection is a really good thing for us as consumers and society, but it's a dangerous thing for manufacturers because they have to begin to figure out how to support that.
I'm going to chime in. So you're spot on, and I think one of the challenges that we're going to run into when we're having to support these devices for so long is the support we're going to need from the operating system, from the manufacturers of the hardware, BIOS manufacturers and so forth. It's not just the hardware itself that has to work, but it's all the pieces of software that make it work. So all of those pieces have to work together. So I think when we talk about collaboration in this space and circularity, it's crucial in order for us to ever succeed. And it's going to start at the beginning. It's not going to, it doesn't end here, right? We're just kicking it off.
So in the spirit of education and coming together as an industry and supporting us, I'd love to hear the perspective, Kevin, from you and also from you, Mike, around, because obviously, Kevin, you have an ITAD business, but you're also part of a distributor. Mike, you've been involved with HP in other ways with the recycling some of their materials, and now you're doing some of this work. I'd love to see what you think from an advice perspective for the ITADs in the room who want to play in this game, right? Whether it's HP or others that come down the line, like, what are some of the cliff notes, or what are some things you really got to consider when you want to go down this path and work with an OEM?
It's a good question. I could give my honest answer, my non-professional answer. Hustle used to be it. If you had hustle, you were successful. And I think our industry, the ITAD industry in general, has transitioned into a place of professionalism. And hustle is necessary, but professionalism, meaning your certifications, right? People like HP won't even begin to speak to you if you don't immediately have certifications that are validated, right? That's just the start of the conversation. If that's not in place and your professionalism isn't in line with their agenda and their initiatives, you don't do business with HP, or you don't do business with the other manufacturers out there. So my opinion of that is that it's a combined hustle and professionalism, but I love that this industry has gone farther on its professionalism and really began to get ourselves out of that ugly gray market term, and all the scary words that were initiated around our industry have seemed to go away as we as a culture have began to professionalize. So that's, in my opinion, I think professionalism certifications are the first step to doing business.
Mike?
Agree with that. I think I have a synonym. I would say you've got to deliver for the OEM. They want to go with partners that provide solutions. You have to deliver them in a timely manner. You've got to be nimble and quick. You've got to think a little outside the box. You've got to be a great partner that when you give them a timeline for what you're going to do, not only hit that timeline, but exceed it. And then I think you hit the other things too. You got to be reliable. You got to check the boxes. You got to make sure you do what you say you're going to do. But those are a few things that I would advise if you want to work with a great partner like HP.
All right, so any questions on this topic? Anyone? Bueller? No? All right. So Jen, this is a question for you. So when you look at an ITAD partner who you want to try to recruit or bring into the certified refurbished program, actually probably a couple parts of this. Like, what is an ideal partner for your program? And then when you think about that ITAD outside of just the certified refurbished program, what are the other bells and whistles you feel that an ITAD could bring to you to add additional value? So maybe they're not as big as you would like or whatever else, but they do some other nuts and bolts that could fit well into the equation of what you guys are working on.
Sure. So I think we touched on it a little bit, kind of some of the things that we look for, because of course quality is super important, but I chime into what Kevin had said. Certifications are key, right? There are a number of certifications out there that don't just talk about how you're treating your employees, but it's also your reuse standards, different things like that need, like I think R2 V3 is one. There's e-stewards. There's a bunch of ISO standards. There's a number of them out there that I think are really important that an ITAD should have in place. A lot of it comes with that audit, right? It's the accountability of what you're delivering and your facility. And then I think second to that, of course, volume. I'd be lying if I don't say volume's important, but it's not always the most important. Someone that does maybe printers, large-scale printers, they're big, they take up space. So someone that might do less volume but can handle that type of a product is going to be of big interest. Same thing kind of goes for poly, right? The hybrid portfolio is different, so refurbing that product means it's also different. It might have a completely different process. So while we'll keep the number of partners select and few, I think you might find that I may have 3 in a given area because one does print, one does poly, and one does PCs. So those are kind of the key points. As far as extra bells and whistles, collaboration to me is a really big deal. When I call it a partner program, I kind of did that on purpose because I don't feel like what the program looks like today will be what it is 6 months from now, or even a year from now, or 5 years from now. But I don't think that me or my team or HP defining what that program looks like makes sense because it doesn't meet the requirements of what an ITAD's already doing in the industry. We're not trying to change the business. The business is successful. So let's get involved and build something really cool together. So I take the more partnership approach. So someone that's going to be open to collaboration, open to a little calculated risk, so that we can go be successful together.
All right. Any questions for Jen? All right. So I'm kind of skipping around questions, but there's a zinger I just thought of for Grant, and I apologize. I can't help myself. But you mentioned 2030, right? And this is a big crystal ball question. So that's what, 5 years out from now for HP in your fiscal year. So in 2030, what does Renew look like?
That's good. No competitors in the audience today, is there? Okay, so what does Renew look like in 2030? There's 2 things I'll say. One, I really want to make sure that Renew covers the breadth of portfolio that HP has. And it's like easier said than done. I mean, HP makes everything from a Poly desk phone to a large conference system, also by Poly, to all different types of computers and all different types of printers and other gear. HyperX is one of our brands. There's a lot of gear that HP makes, but to have a customer show up and be able to buy multi-lifecycle devices across HP's portfolio, super important to me. And we're starting with a few SKUs in PCs and a few SKUs in printers, and we're in a couple of countries, but for me to be able to have that kind of breadth across the portfolio is number one. And oh, by the way, the portfolio changes every year, so it's a continuous improvement activity, to say the least. I think the second thing is HP services over 100 countries, and again, for these customers that have operations in 50, 60 countries, I want Renew to be that one-stop shop for them. I want them to be able to say, hey, if you're in 50 countries, we got you covered. And just the complexities of launching a business globally, many of you deal with this every day, going into new regions, new countries. I had lunch with a person today as expanding, buying a business, looking at going in another country, all kinds of different regulations and things that you have to consider to make sure you're doing business the right way. And so I'd say the ability for us, Renew, to be across the whole portfolio and across the whole globe, I think both of those are important because that's what our customers are asking for, right? It's what they're demanding of HP today when they buy new gear, and I want to be able to support that on anything that's multi-life cycle.
I swung and missed. You hit that one out of the park. That was a good answer, actually. So I know we only got a couple minutes left. We'll do some open Q&A general. Rich, Lorenzo, look at that easy one for you right behind you.
Hello, Rich Bolger. Kevin, good to see you. Question, the most successful circular economies on the planet are real estate, automotive, and now mobile. And most people don't consider real estate or automotive circular economies, but in those transactions, the old equipment is used as a form of payment when you buy the next new thing. And what happens is you spend more money on the next new thing and you buy the next new thing faster. This is a supply question. We talked about manufacturing. The next step is sales. Is HP, through the Renewed Solutions program, looking at partnering more aggressively with retailers to go through and create buyback type of programs where the residual value of the old product is going to be used to help the next new product faster? And it kind of ties into the question that Todd asked. If Renewed is successful, will HP sell more products at a faster rate and impact the longevity by building customer 2, 3, and 4, which is what's happening now?
Yeah, no, it's very good. I'll just say stay tuned on what you're asking for is, we'll call it a trade-in model. We did it at Poly very successfully, and we're efforting. I'll just say that on the trade-in side. The part of the question I'd like to address, though, which I think impacts everybody in the room, is about residual value, which you mentioned even on one of the electronics industries that you just mentioned. There's somebody out there that does a really nice job at holding the residual value of device. So when you go to trade it in, you're a little more apt to buy a higher price new device from that company because you know you're getting a really high residual value on that device. And like the whole ecosystem stays in a strong place because higher trade-in value equals a customer that's willing to pay a little bit more. A lot of folks have mentioned it for like a Toyota or a Honda car. You're willing to pay a few more dollars because you know you're going to get a really good residual value or trade-in. And so that's super important at HP. Like, we're spending a lot of time to make sure that we're building an ecosystem where the residual values are strong. And I mean, one, obviously it's good for business, but two, it makes the buying decision for a consumer much easier when they have the brand confidence, whether it be through an HP certified partner program or trading it in directly to HP, that you know you get good value. You're just, it's an easier transaction to go buy another new unit when you know you're going to get a good value for your old one. So the trade-in program, I'll just say stay tuned on that one. But on the residual value, I'll tell you something we take very seriously, and we're doing a lot of analytics on the residual value because it is a part of the business that we want to make sure we're strong in. It's a good question.
Rich, great question. And you mentioned something in the beginning of that I want to mention outside of it being specific to HP, but industry-wide, we're hearing new terms enter and take replace of the ITAD term. We're hearing trade-in, trade-up, buyback, all these terminologies. Yeah, they've been around forever, but they've never really been in this particular industry of ITAD. Now, all of a sudden, we find ourselves using these words with corporate end users and with environments that we naturally didn't use because they were dirty consumer words and they weren't driven towards the B2B market, but they most certainly are. So I'm glad you bring that up.
Well, I got a couple points on that. The one thing to think about in the world of trading in a mobile device or a car, right? A mobile device is fairly easy to process and wipe and put back into production. There's a lot of automation you can do around that. When you get into the world of a laptop coming out of a hospital or a bank, right, and they need white glove services to pick up on site, they may want data erasure on site, they need reporting done a certain way, right? That's why I think ITAD will probably have a trade-in vehicle or mechanism, but I don't think it'll ever look the same as like what it does like in the mobility world, for example, right? I also think when you look in the business world, there's only a certain amount of SKUs that typically HP is going to sell a certain type of product in there. You look in the consumer space, there may be 88,000 different models coming out from different OEMs in that space. So I think the trade-in is going to ramp up, but I think it's a much more complex equation to solve, right, to do that. So, any other questions? Yeah.
My name is Andrew Villela from Darwin. I lived here in the States and Canada for about 10 years. And in Europe, most of the companies don't have the certifications. Are very few companies that have. And the reason of that is because the European, usually each country has regulations that are really higher than the USA for data and for many things. And my question would be for everybody, if that would be the only consideration to have a partner there in Europe, that the certifications.
Hopefully, okay, guess it's working again. So we will have partners globally. So it will be a necessity to have partners, especially in key countries across Europe, just for the reasons you just said. Brazil, great example. Everything needs to stay in country. There's a lot, I think Malaysia works that way too. Like there's several countries that, as we're refurbishing devices, they need to be sourced in the area. They need to be, parts need to be there, refurbished there, and sold there. So everything's very, it has to be centralized, kind of local to local, if you will. And so yes, it'll be a necessity that we find partners in those given regions. I think that it's going to be important as we grow our programs that we do it strategically, so that when we roll out a new country, that we are doing it in a methodical way that we can all be successful.
All right, we're kind of at time, a little bit over, but I do want to open up if there's any other last questions anybody wants to get out. All right, well, thank you to our panel. Thank you guys for coming out today. Appreciate the interaction. Thank you.